I'm Shelley Johnson. So glad you're here. Let's have some tea. And here's some words. We'll give them space to do a work in us. We are still thinking about how we might embrace worship more fully. And this week, we're going to turn our eyes to another word picture, another object that we find in the Old Testament that also comes up again in the New Testament. It's that of the well, the place where our patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, who were shepherds, who were nomadic people who lived in tents and led their flocks all through this place that was dusty, sandy, rocky, very little vegetation and almost no water, something they had to survive. And so the well became this symbol of trust in God, because God would lead them to a place and tell them to dig, and dig and dig and dig they would. By faith, they dug deep wells until they found that spring of water that was hidden under the ground. They called it living water because it was fresh water, good for drinking. And then they would build the well, and it would become a place they would go to every day to draw water for themselves and for their flocks. What a picture of coming to God, of worshiping God, of drawing near to God. And Jesus uses that very same idea. In fact, it was Jacob's well when he meets the Samaritan woman. This is a significant meeting because not only does Jesus, for the first time, out loud say who he is, Messiah, but he says it to this woman who's a Samaritan who's living in blatant sin while at the well. And so he takes all of the ideas that were so important and significant to the patriarchs and those of the Old Testament, of the Old Covenant, and he transitions them to the New Covenant. He invites her to draw living water from himself, and that it would be water that would meet a thirst that went beyond physical thirst. It's water that is life-giving now and for all eternity. And she was eager to know more. But she had a question, and it had to do with worship. Samaritans and Jews disagreed about where to worship. Because remember, in those days, God would be in one place on earth. So they'd built these worship places, these temples, for God to dwell among them. And Jesus told her, man, you keep drinking this living water, and pretty soon you won't have to go to a particular place to worship. Instead, you'll worship in truth and spirit. Boy, let that sink in. He has given her the blueprints for what's to come. Because once he ascends, the Holy Spirit comes. We become the temple because he dwells in us. We don't have to go to a particular place to worship. We worship him wherever we are. And we do so with the Spirit in us and with the truth guiding us. And we dig deep wells with Jesus. Sometimes we're digging deeply in our hearts to find healing. Sometimes we're digging deeply into the Word just to know God better. But it all requires trust and faith, hope for finding that living water, the new life. And all of this is worship. Let me know how I can be praying for you.